Hey everyone, welcome to Data Millennials. I'm Atul, and in this video we are going to see how we can get a difference between the two dates using this dated if function in Excel. So the Excel dated if function returns the difference between two specific dates value in year, months or days. The purpose of this function is to get days, month or year between specifically two dates. So it will always return a value that is a number which will represent the time between two dates that you have specified or you have given in your formula. So this dated if formula has three different arguments. The first argument is the start date, the second argument is end date, and the third argument is unit. So the start date is the date in Excel serial number, as well as the end date is also Excel dated serial number, while the unit represents the time to use either year, months or days. So let's go and see how we can use this dated if function in Excel. And one of the most surprising thing in Excel is that if you put equal to dated if, you won't find any IntelliSense for this function. So most often when you put any formula, you usually get the list of arguments that you would require for that formula. With this dated if function in Excel, you won't be getting that. So that's why you have to make sure that you know all the arguments that you have to give in this function to get the difference between the two dates. So the first argument is start date. I'll just put it down here. The second argument is end date, and the third argument is unit, and unit represents the day, month or year. Now we have two examples here. The first example is that we have to evaluate how many days does in which the order has been delivered. So we have two dates here, the order date and delivery date. So suppose you have ordered a certain package and it has been delivered after 5 days or 10 days. So when you get your data, you will get the customer detail. For example, we have here first name, then you have the order date on which the order has been placed and the delivery date on which the package has been delivered. Now you have to calculate how many days does it took for a packet to get delivered, and in order to calculate that, you have to get the difference between this order date and this delivery date. In this case or in these scenarios, we have to use this dated if function. Now the second example that we have here is that we have to get the number of days here from this start date and end days, and then we have to convert these number of days into the number of weeks. So let's move ahead to our first example, and in our first example we will basically calculating the difference between this order date and this delivery date. So to do that, we will simply put equal to dated if, and then we'll put our first argument, that is the start date. So for us, the start date is the order date on which the customer has ordered a particular item, and then we have to give the delivery date as the end date. So for end date, we'll use this delivery date. This means on which date the order has been delivered. And now we need to give the units, and the parameter or the argument of units is given between the quotes. So if you want to get the number of days, then you will simply put D in double quote and close the bracket and press enter. Now if you basically subtract this order date minus delivery date, you will get this particular day, which means -5. So this means that there is a 5 days difference between order and delivery, and it took 5 days to deliver the first packet for this particular customer. Now if you see the difference here, we are getting 5 and here it's -5. So the reason being is that we are minusing order date from delivery date. Now if we put delivery date minus order date, then we will get it into positive, which is 5, but that should not be the case. First the 7th of February came, and then the 12th February will come on which the delivery has been done. So Excel uses this dated if function in a proper way, or it gives you the flexibility to use or to get the days difference or month difference or year difference in a proper way, where you give the start date on which the process has started and the end date on which the process has ended. For us, the process started on order date and it ended on the delivery date. So if I drag this formula, you will see that we can easily get the date difference for this particular table. Now what if you need to get the difference in month? To do that, we will simply put equal to dated if, then you will put your first argument, which is the order date or the start date, then you will put the end date, which is delivery date, and then your units. In your units you will simply put M, which stands for month. Now when you are using M, you will get the difference in months. Now if I press enter, you should ideally get 0, because this is 7th of February 2022 and this is 12th of February 2022. So there is no difference in at the level of month, there is a difference of date. So we should ideally get 0. Okay, we should get difference here because it's in January and it's in February. So ideally we should get 1 when we drag this formula. So we are getting 0 here, and you might be thinking that okay, this formula doesn't work properly, but it does. It does. Let me tell you why we are getting 0 here. And we are getting 0 because if you take the difference between these two dates, it's 9 days, and if you convert this 9 days into months, then you will get 0 because it's just the first month. Now if I increase the number of days here by like removing 2 or adding 3, you will see the number of days has increased to 37. In a particular month you will have either 30 days or 31 days, or for February you will have 28 days. So once the difference between these 2 days is more than 30 or 31, then this dative function will calculate the month. So this is how you calculate the month, and this is the logic how the dateDIF calculate months. Similarly, this dateDIF function you can use to calculate the year also by putting Y in your units. And if I remove this 2022 and put 2024, you will see that you have the difference of 2 years here. So the important thing to note that this dateDIF function calculates year and month based on the difference of days here. If you see the day here, it's 768, and if you divide it by 365, you should get 2, which is 2.1, right? So that's why you are getting 2 here as the difference of year. Now let's move on to our next example. So in our next example, the question is that suppose we have a list of customers with their loan start date, and we wish to calculate the number of days from the day they were required to pay until the end date. Now suppose you have taken a particular loan and it starts on a particular date, and you have the start date and the end date of that loan, and you want to calculate the number of days you will have to pay for that particular loan. So to do that, you will simply put equal to dateDIF, and then you will put the first argument, which is the start date. Now I'll put the second argument, which is my end date, and after that we need to put the units. So in this example we have to get the days, so we'll put D and then we'll close the bracket and press enter. So for 915 days Daryl had to pay interest. Now if I want to convert it into weeks, I can simply put equal to this 915 divided by 7. This is the simplest way. But if you want to calculate weeks directly using this dateDIF function, what you can do is that you can put equal to dateDIF, then you will put the start date, then you will put the end date, you will give the unit as days, you will close this bracket and you will divide it by 7. Now you can see you have the same value as 131. So Daryl had to pay 915 days worth of interest, and if you convert it into weeks, it's 131. Now let's drag this formula till the end of this table. So this is the number of days difference, and this is the number of weeks from this start date and end date. So this is how basically you can use this dateDIF function in Excel if you have to calculate the difference between two date values and get your output either as a year, month or days.